Hi everyone. Can you believe July is gone? I mean, really, this summer is just zooming by. And I know I've mentioned often that I enjoy gardening, and I have a number of spaces around our yard that are planted with perennials and annuals. And I have a small vegetable garden that I plant with beans and tomatoes. Some years I'm better at keeping everything weeded and looking pretty spiffy, and this is not one of those years. It seems the weeds have been determined to take over everything, and I just haven't had the time or energy to get ahead of them like I usually would. You know, I've got all kinds of excuses for the weeds taking over. It's been a busy summer, it's been too hot or too wet to get outside and work, or maybe I'm just ignoring them, hoping they'll go away on their own. I do know if my aunt were still alive, she'd probably put me to shame and have everything whipped into shape in no time. My aunt and uncle lived in Littleton, Colorado for a long time, and their yard was always immaculate. You were almost afraid to walk out there in it. Their flower beds didn't dare have a weed in them, and the grass was trimmed perfectly. It was very soft and lush. In her later years, Aunt Jewel moved to Indiana following a life-altering stroke and lived with my cousin on the farm for another 15 years or so of her life. And on that farm in Indiana, she delighted in tending the many flower beds and containers that were planted around the farm, kind of in her glory, being able to kind of watch over those and take care of them, and could often be found weeding even the shallow ditches that ran in front of their house sometimes. If she spotted a weed, it was gone instantaneously. And often my cousin would even lose track of where Auntie Jewel was and eventually find her pulling weeds in the cornfield that was around their house, even when she was in her 90s. Now, weeds like those are just like the bad habits that we try so hard to get rid of, but they just keep coming back. Or those things about ourselves that we wish we could change, but just never quite managed to do so. I've tried for years to journal, and knowing that it would be so beneficial to have that outlet to put my thoughts into words and then just set everything aside. Most attempts I make at that fall by the wayside very quickly. Most of us have tried different exercise and nutritional changes to better our health and to feel better, but making them a habit and something that we can stick to and really benefit from is truly easier said than done. And anyone who's using a treadmill for a place to hang clothes knows exactly what I'm talking about. God's greatest desire for us is to weed out the things of this world in our hearts that come between us and Him. He loves when we make the effort to clean out all the bad habits, the unkind thoughts, the selfishness and pride that stand between us and keep us from being the loving servants that He's created us to be. Just as a flower bed looks so much prettier when the weeds are gone, our hearts are cleaner and purer without all the worldly things that make it so cluttered. One of my favorite verses is Psalm 51, which says, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from your presence, and take not your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and uphold me with a willing spirit." It's time to do some weeding, inside and out, and make some space for the Holy Spirit to do His work within us. God's blessings to you. Bye.